Just a second, Coach. All right. Start us off.
Okay. Obviously good to get our first MAC win, to be 4-3, come back home here. Have a great week of preparation for homecoming. Got ourselves down at halftime, having 3 turnovers in the first half. I told our guys at halftime, that's, obviously we got 30 minutes here. In the next 30 minutes here in the second half, we'll go a long way in determining the rest of our season here. And obviously we get back here, watch the game tape. Told our guys last night, whatever it is that we're doing in the second half, whether it's mojo, mindset, whatever that is, let's bring that in the first half because, I am proud of our fight, but it's certainly tough to win like that when you have 3 turnovers in the first half. You lose the turnover battle 3-0, but I am proud of our guys. Obviously, it was a big night for James Gilbert, having 268 yards, or 264, I'll get it right here at some point. 264 yards rushing. Either way, it was a lot. Big night for James, and I think, James will be the first to tell you, just like I would, that the credit goes to the guys up front. Those guys are the ones blocking for him, creating some running lanes for him to do his thing. But James is one of those guys that just gets stronger as the game goes on. So it was good to see him have that night. Obviously, the offensive line, we had, a big night rushing the ball overall, 350 yards. And one of the, it was a big night for those guys up front, so I was proud of them. But we got to come back home. We got to have a great week of practice. Akron's a good football team. Yes, they lost to Western Michigan, but we all know Western Michigan's playing at a high level because they don't make very many mistakes. So we got to get back, correct our mistakes, eliminate the turnovers, have a great week of preparation here, and get ready for an exciting homecoming weekend.
Coach, I know we talked the other day about Gilbert and the 264-yard night that he had, but he's 4th in the country now in rushing yards. How special has this season been for him?
Well, obviously it is. Anytime you're up there and you're ranking in the top 5 like that, that's quite an accomplishment. But James is a hungry guy. He's one of those guys that, he always has a smile on his face. He'll be ready to go back to work. When we get on the practice field tomorrow to get ready for this game. So James understands that, you're only as good as your last performance. And for him, obviously it was a great one, but he knows that it's a week-to-week game. You got 7 more days till you play your next game. So you have to have a great week of practice every week. You got to study the tape, study your opponent, give yourself the best chance to repeat that performance and have success again.
Sure, and then I know we talked a little bit about this after the game, but you talked about Buffalo, that first drive, as an opportunity or a potential defining moment for Riley to come back, show some mental toughness. And that first drive, I think he only threw 1 pass.
Yep.
But you get the touchdown. After that, that was kind of sloppy. How do you just kind of gauge his night overall in that moment?
Well, certainly, he had 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions, sack fumble, which wasn't necessarily his fault. It was more for a protection scheme issue, more so than him being sloppy with the ball in the pocket. But you go into the game, when you develop your openers for the game, you want to make sure you do a good job of getting him going in the game. We had a couple quarterback runs to get him going. But, when you're able to run the ball like we were able to run the ball, certainly you want to get the ball in James Gilbert's hands also. We had great field position to start our first drive and, had 9 plays there to get it in the end zone. And then, yes, you're right, after that we had a stretch of about 10 plays where we were not as good as we needed to be. There were some missed assignments, poor execution on our part. So, and then, as the half unfolded there, you had the 2 interceptions. On the one at the end of the first half, you simply cannot make. There's 8 seconds left in the half. You got 1 shot at the end zone. You either throw it away. So we line up and kick field goal, but when they drop 8 and you force 1 into coverage, that's a critical mistake that cannot happen. So, he knew at halftime when we went in that, hey, we come back out here in the second half and, I got to play my best football here because we're down. We're lucky to be down 14-7 at that time. Our defense had done a great job of keeping us in the game, and I thought I was proud of the way he just came back out in the second half, showed some mental toughness.
Sure, and then on the other hand, with Riley's performance, you have another week where, you're like Jordan Hogues, Devin Reese, just don't get out and maybe perform. Like, We thought they might this year. Are you still looking for more from them, or what do you kind of need there?
Well, all the guys. I tell all the whole group of wide receivers each and every week, Swetney played more snaps offensively than he had all year. Had a big play on that 43-yard catch where he adjusted to a back shoulder ball, and obviously he's kicking himself going, man, I wish I would have got out of that and finished that to the end zone. But all of our guys know that just you got to come out and practice. You got to come out and make sure that you limit your mistakes in practice, make sure you know what we're doing offensively, and you'll be on the field. I think you've seen Aaron Hebb take advantage of, his reps that he's gotten lately. He had another very consistent performance the other night against Buffalo, and happy to see that for him. Kevon obviously had his touches, and Damon had 3 big catches there on that 2-minute drive right there at the end of the first half. He had 3 big catches to get us down there in field goal range, and we'll just continue to put those guys, rotate them, keep them fresh, and emphasize having good weeks of practice. We'll give them the best chance to get as many repetitions as possible.
Sure, and then, with your first 2 MAC games, they're one possession, kind of grinded out games. Then this week at Buffalo, you're down at the half, but pulled this one out for a win. How important is it to for you guys just to be able to flip that script and come out on top after trailing at the half?
Well, that'd be nice to do that. We know that each week is a new challenge, new opponent. Yes, we'd like to eliminate those turnovers, but that's just kind of the games that we've been in. It's kind of been a slugfest. It's been a game each week that's been decided in the second half, and you preach that, you prepare for that, you try to emphasize conditioning way back when you start, not only in spring practice, winter workouts, all those things. You emphasize conditioning because when you're in games that are close, third, fourth quarter, at least control the advantage that you can have by being in better shape and being in better condition. But that's just the type of games that we're in right now. We gotta know that. And we got to, just continue to try to emphasize making sure we execute at a high level in practice and carry that over to the game. You never want to have 3 turnovers, but we were able to overcome that, and just proud of our guys for continuing to fight. Nobody ever finger points. We stick together through any adversity that presents itself.
It seemed like in the first half, Riley was under constant duress, and you guys weren't able to run the ball the way you'd like, and then obviously in the second half that changed. Were there any adjustments made in the locker room with the offensive line, or just a matter of executing better?
Well, we focused in on a few of the runs, obviously, that have been good to us up to that point because we had some success running the ball. We just knew that we were going to add a few more QB runs because we wanted to gain ourselves an advantage by giving an extra blocker with the running back and get Riley on the perimeter because he's good at that. Our offensive line has done a very good job all year long with their development, especially the young guys that are playing. But there wasn't anything that was a major scheme change. It was just more about executing and making sure we had the right kind of mindset and taking advantage. Each and every series we're going to have success and execute and plug our way down the field to get back into it.
What are your thoughts on the way Caden has filled in for Steve?
I think he's done a nice job. He's one of those guys that obviously 2 weeks ago he had no playing time. Gets on the field against Central Michigan, good MAC opponent, one of the better teams in the league, playing at a consistent level right now. I thought he stepped in and did a very nice job. He did the same thing. He kind of piggybacked his performance against Central Michigan. Didn't have a lot of mistakes. I think that's good for him to be able to get those kind of repetitions. Yes, we miss Steve Bell. Would like to have him on the field, but I think Caden's done a great job filling in for Steve, and he's just getting better and better each week.
On the other side, Josh Miller was out, so David Moore kind of steps in. What did you see on the film from his performance? It seemed like he made some plays on Saturday.
He did. He had 4 pass breakups, which is big time to be able to have that. They challenged him deep. They took their shots deep, but he had 4 pass breakups. I know he would have liked to have that interception there at the end, but I was very proud of the way David competed. It's not easy when you're out there on an island and you're going against receivers and they're taking shots down the field on you. But I was proud of him, having 4 pass breakups. He was recognized in our team meeting here last night for his performance in the game.
Coach Doss, when I talked to him last week, said when he grades the film, he's starting to see more wins in the secondary
right.
on a more consistent basis. How would you best describe their improvement from the beginning of the season till now on the back end?
Well, and we've had some turnover there. We've had some change in the lineup on a weekly basis. Every team has injuries, so that's just something you have to deal with. But I think the confidence level of those guys in a performance like that for David has done a lot for him. From confidence for early part of the season when he played till now, his confidence level is totally different. He believes he can go out there, whatever receiver he's on, he believes he can win that matchup. He believes that when the ball's in the air, he's going to go up and make a play on it. And I think, when you're playing that position, as much as anything else, you have to have a short-term memory and you have to play with confidence. And I think that's something you've seen. Mark's been very consistent all year long. Mark Walton has, and I think David, for him to bounce back, he got, his fair share of balls caught on him earlier in the season, but I think he's really responded, competed, and he's really starting to believe in himself.
Talking a little about the receivers earlier, obviously Corey Lacanaria hasn't played a lot in the last 2 weeks. What specifically are you looking for from him to try to earn his reps and get back on the field?
Well, I think it's two things here. Aaron Hipp's done a good job. They really kind of play the same position. They play the slot receiver position. Yes, we move them around some, but they both play the slot receiver position. And Aaron took advantage of, an opportunity to get some reps because of his hard work in practice, the way he prepares. And I think, once he got in the game and he produced and had some big-time catches, you continue to expand his role, continue to give him reps, but yet emphasizing to Corey, make sure that you're practicing each and every week. You're putting your best foot out there during the course of the week of practice, and you'll get your repetition. So he rotated in some this last game. We'll continue to go with that same approach, and he'll get more repetitions here. But he's got to make sure he does it in practice. Sure.
And then finally, Akron, what sticks out on film when you watch them? I know their quarterback's out right now, so what you've seen from the backup, what's impressed you?
Well, he's a runner. He can do some damage with his legs. And, I think last week, going into that game against Western Michigan, they anticipated their starter, Woodson, to be back in the lineup. He did not return, so I would expect him to be in the lineup for our game. I think he was off to a great start through 4 games. His numbers were very impressive, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He can throw it. He does a good job getting the ball in the hands of his playmakers. They got a slot receiver that can fly. And they got a big receiver outside that makes a lot of contested catches. So they got a nice little 1-2 punch there at the wide receiver position with a quarterback that we expect to return. And if he doesn't, the backup has done a great job, leading them to 2 wins in his absence. And they're 4-3. They're a good football program. They're right in the thick of things in the MAC. We know obviously they're going to be disappointed about the loss, but I think the credit more than anything goes to Western Michigan for just playing mistake-free football, and they're very consistent, very confident right now. But Akron will be ready to go, and there's a lot on the line for them, just like there is for us, and we'll be ready to go when they get here.
Coach, against Buffalo, you come out in the second half, the first drive, turn it over on downs around midfield. I know you talk about being an aggressive guy. What went into that decision to go for it there?
Well, I love the mindset of our offensive line right now, and I love the thought of having the ball in James Gilbert's hands. So I made that decision. Obviously, it didn't work out in our favor, but I love putting it on those guys' back. And when you're fourth and it was a yard, arguably less than a yard in that situation, yeah, it's at midfield. So obviously I know what the circumstances are. If we do not get that yard, then we give them great field position. But, I just believe in our offensive line, and I believe in James Gilbert that much that I felt confident that we would get that yard. And we didn't. Our defense did a great job of responding and flipping it. And then obviously we got going with a couple big plays after that.
And then the defense, Buffalo had some decent yardage totals, and you didn't force any turnovers. But what did you think of the defense's ability to kind of pick the offense up and give them more chances down the stretch?
Well, great job in the first half, especially because, to have 3 turnovers in the first half and for us to be down 14-7 at half says a lot about our defense. And really the most disappointing thing is after that first drive, we started the game exactly how you would want to, with getting a stop and then going right down the field and scoring. But then the defense gave us great field position, and we didn't capitalize. We didn't play very good complementary football. And when you get that, you need to take advantage of having field position like that, because when it flips, like it did, obviously it's tough to go 90 yards. That's not easy to do. Fortunately for us, it worked out a couple times that we were able to do that. But the defense has been consistent. They did a good job with mixing things up the other night where we weren't able to get to the queue. We got a few hits on them, but we weren't able to get to the quarterback, and they do a good job of taking care of the ball.
And you mentioned Akron's running quarterback. That's one thing that you guys have struggled a little bit with this year, it seems like. How difficult does it make it to kind of prepare for a guy that can run as well as throw?
Absolutely. I mean, it's another added dimension when you have a quarterback that can run with the ball, whether it's by design or whether he pulls it down because the pocket breaks down and he takes off and makes some plays with his feet. Certainly, it's something you have to have great discipline. You have to have one of your defenders assigned to the quarterback at all times when you have a threat like they do at quarterback with their backup. So, we'll put in a game plan this week and make sure he's accounted for. And yes, obviously we recognize that if you look back a few weeks ago, we gave up some big yardage to the quarterback, and we got to make sure and get that fixed.
Obviously, homecoming this weekend. Do you have any former players, coaches, et cetera, that you know for a fact are coming?
Oh, yeah, there's going to be several guys here back for the game. So we're hoping for great weather, which it looks good right now. But it's going to be exciting to have those guys back here. I told all of our guys, and it includes me, let's make sure we eliminate the distractions. It's going to be great to see those guys, but there's a game to be played. And then hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up a little bit more after the game. But there's a lot on the line for us. This is the first of a 3-game homestand for us after being on the road 5 of our first 7. So it's exciting for us. But we got our first MAC win, and we got to, correct the mistakes that showed up on tape, showed up in that game, have a great game plan here, and get win number 2 in the MAC.
All right, Coach, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.